Hey everybody! In today's tutorial, I'm going to continue my series on stencils. I had been working with layering stencils, and now I'm going to work with the fun new Turnabout stencils from Concord and Ninth. These stencils are really cool because they work the same way that their Turnabout stamps do. Those were designed for the MISTI. And you can make a bunch of different combinations of patterns just by rotating them around a center point. So when they came out with the stencil, of course, the first thing I thought was, I have to do this on my gel press. So before I get to the stencil, I'm just going to build a couple of backdrops for the stenciling. I have my paper taped with the hinge to my MISTI. Because with the stencil especially, since it's a turnabout pattern, I do want it to be in the same place every time. And I actually have two hinges and two pieces of paper, so that on one side I have the first print and the other side I have the ghost print. Now, since I'm using the Impressables to create a little background pattern for me, just a little bit of interest, you always get a third print from the Impressible itself. Now, I found this Holbein Mat paint at Artisan in Santa Fe. I just got back from vacation, and I was excited to try a matte finish acrylic paint. This paint works great on the gel press, and I like it just as a regular paint in contrast to glossy paints as well. So, and I had never seen that before. That's the great thing about being able to walk into an art store as opposed to shopping online, is you can find some things you might not have found otherwise. And that store is hard on my wallet. Let me tell you what. So now I have a different Impressible, and I'm just adding a different pattern in a different color to the main print and the ghost print. And I know you can't see the full prints yet. I'm trying to get you close up so that you can kind of see my process, but you will see them all at the end. And then of course on the Impressible print, I'm adding to that as well. I love that I get really three sort of series that are all going to be different with this combination of two hinged pieces of paper on the MISTI and then my Impressables over on the left. Now this is a beautiful warm sunshiny yellow, and I didn't put enough paint on, and you'll notice that when you put a second little bit of paint on when you don't have enough, that it'll actually pull the first bit of paint up, but it's no big deal. Just keep going and it'll recover your plate. I love this. This is like gamboge. It's my favorite yellow. So here's the Turnabout stencil. So I'm going to put it down and I'm going to pick up just the pattern of the stencil so that you can see how the Turnabout works. It makes this fun little starburst or floral once you do 4 rotations of the stencil. So you will get the first little angle, and I'm going to be careful to put it in the position that I printed in between prints so that I know to rotate it 90 degrees. On the stamp, sometimes I will write 1, 2, 3, 4 in the corners so that I know that the number is always in the top right-hand corner, and it makes the rotation a little bit less of a memory exercise, which can be a challenge at my advanced age. So I'm just holding it in the same position that I had it in, and I'm going to rotate the stencil counterclockwise for this pink section, except I forgot. So I put it down, and then I was like, oh, hey, dummy, how about you rotate it so you can actually do what the Turnabout stencil is supposed to do? But I remembered, saved it. You can see I have a little bit of ink on that stencil because I have another project coming towards the end of the month with the stencil used in a traditional way and not with gel printing. So I will pick up the pink, and I just randomly chose these colors, so I don't know how they will look, but the pink and orange is cute so far, as you can see there. So I will lift the stencil, keep it in the same position, and then just overprint on this piece of paper with the solid. Now this will have a lot of paint on it. This won't be a very detailed print just because I'm picking up all those solid pieces, so they're sort of going to print on top of each other. But a lot of times those are really good background pieces for other types of work other than what I'm going to be showing you with the main part of the stencil. So I cleaned off the plate with that other print that I had been using on the Impressables. And now I'm going to use my favorite color, which is golden teal, for the third sort of leg of that flower. And like I said, at the end of the month, I have some really fun projects with this stencil that are a little bit out of the box. So be sure and come back for those. So now I will rotate for the third leg of the little flower, and that color is so beautiful. And I know some of you are freaking out right now because I have paint all over the side of my MISTI. But I promise you that when I clean this MISTI, it is going to look brand new. That's one of the great things about acrylic paint. It's very forgiving. So there you can see the little third leg. Take the stencil off. Be careful to keep it in the same spot. Overprint on my messy sheet just to clean the plate. And you can see it doesn't preserve a ton of detail, but it's kind of cool looking. And then I'm going to do a green and a little bit of yellow for the last leg of this little flower. I wanted to have sort of a bright pattern, so I could use a big, bold greeting on this one. And I love how the gel press fits exactly in the MISTI and makes for the perfect printing surface. So I will stick that down and then go ahead and print this. Even though these openings are pretty small, it's actually really easy just to rub in there and get that petal detail. Picked up. And so now the turnabout is complete because you do 4 rotations every time, and you can see that fun star pattern with a different color for each little petal, which I never would have been able to do just printing with a regular stencil because everything would be all the same color of whatever you were putting down on the plate and picking up. So it's nice to be able to preserve that pattern and have it be multicolored. Here I'm just cleaning my stencil, getting some of the extra paint off the stencil so it doesn't go down my sink. I love that for those pickup prints. But I also wanted to show you that in addition to the Turnabout stencils, any stencil that isn't completely 100% the same in pattern all the way across the stencil also has some cool effects when you just do the 90-degree rotation and get 4 prints from it. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I have this color box stencil, and you can see how it's not symmetrical and it's not identical all the way across the stencil. So it's good for this experiment. And since I'm using my 6x6 gel press, it's also the perfect size. So this is quinacridone magenta from Golden, and then the Holbein Mat with that warm sunny yellow. And that's my first print. And again, just pay attention to how your stencil is. Set it to the side so you know what the rotation is. And then do a ghost print. Always my favorite. I guess I just love ghosts. And then keep your prints in the same orientation too. And that will really help. And the next step will be teal. This is always so beautiful with quinacridone magenta and yellow. This is my holy trinity of colors. And I'm going to add the more lemony yellow to this as well. This 6x6 plate is such a great size for card makers. You can always get a full card front plus some die cuts out of it. And then I'm going to rotate my stencil. Actually, it's pretty with just the stencil sitting there with that red paint still on it. These are great color combinations. And then I'll take my initial print and print on top of that, and you can see the fun effect that you get just by rotating it. And then I'll do the same with the ghost print, except I forgot to take the stencil off. Hey, dummy, take the stencil off. Now I'll do my ghost print. The ghost prints with stencils are fun because it actually leaves paint where the stencil was, so you get a more filled in look. And that looks like a fun sort of graffiti image. Now I'll rotate it again, you know the drill, except, hey, put the paint on. I'm really not on my A game this week because they've been replacing my roof all week. So I've been hearing hammering nonstop for 8 hours every single day. And God love them. I am so happy to have a new roof, but I'm seriously at the edge of insanity, just so you know. This is taking all the mental faculties that I have right now, so please don't judge. Now I'm going back to the fiery magenta and yellow colors. I love doing this, layering back and forth between my two most favorite color combos because they play so well together. And here is the rotation there. Now you can see it's going every which way. And then I will do the ghost print, which, like I said, you compare the two. You tell me what you think. Don't tell me what I think. Only I can tell me what I think. But you got to admit, that's super cool. Ghost prints rule. So there are the finished cards with these prints. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you try the Turnabout, whether you have a Turnabout stencil or just a regular stencil. And thanks so much for watching.